Okay. Well, do what you like. There's a double-sided thing to this card. Do what you like, not what you hate. Don't do what you hate. Do not, or do what I say. Do what I say. Do what you hate. See, there's two sides to it. Two is the devil himself. Two is the name for the dark Tohunga. Two. Okay, now there's a song that comes to mind with this one, so I'm going to play the song for you. I'll explain what it's all about. I hope I can do it. I hope I can do the song. This morning is Monday. Where are you now? Teasing my memory, teaching me how to stay low when I don't want to. The Second Street beggars, born at daylight, like a suitcase full of your past, long gone and in a hurry. Baby, I can't go through this again. I don't wanna go down more than I've already been. You're just like a wildfire, you're running over town. As much as you burn me, baby, I could be ashes by now. I could be ashes by now. It's the cowboy hat, yeah. It's too strong to play the song with, much too strong. But we'll leave it at that because I don't like to do things twice. Where's my other hat? I'll find my other hat and then we'll carry on. Now if you lose something and you have to go and find it, it's important to notice where you find it, under what circumstances, perhaps what else you find there, because whenever that happens to you, you're meant to find something else. And I'd left my hat in the toilet, and so there's a toilet aspect, which means a really bad thing, a bad aspect about this do what you like thing, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to harm anybody else, right? And so, although you might want to do something, you've got to think about your divine partner, your divine other half. Will this cause a problem for them, okay? And this song that I just played is about that. It's about waking up and finding your divine other half is gone. All of a sudden you were living your life and all of your divine movement on the way, on the great way of being, all of a sudden it's just been cut off. You just can't do anything, you're just stuck there, right? Because you've been walking on the way with your partner and now she or he has run off and done something else, made an appointment with somebody or something, and gone and done what they want to do without thinking about you at all. And so you're now stuck in limbo. So, now that I've told you that, let's try the song again, but this time with this hat on, because it was so strong I could hardly hear this. I couldn't receive what I was doing. I was more like I was lost in what I was doing, yeah? The Second Street beggars, born at daylight, come like a suitcase full of your past, long gone and in a hurry. Baby, I can't go through this again. I don't have to go down more than I already been. You're just like a wildfire, you're running all over town. As much as you burn me, baby, I could be ashes by now. I could be ashes by now. The songwriter is a gentleman called Rodney Crowell. He's a very great songwriter, and these songs are all about stuff, yeah. And he's like a country player, yet he's got more of a blues rock meets country sort of way about his songs. They're very good songs, and they go the distance. And so when somebody else goes off and does what they like and leaves you in the lurch, your world, your happiness goes, because you're not allowed to have that done to you, and you have to suffer the consequences of it, because otherwise there'd be no way of maintaining the order in society if everybody could just do whatever they liked without affecting anybody else, anybody else's happiness. Then it wouldn't matter. You just do whatever you like. But it does matter, because if your partner does run off and go off on their own and do stuff, and they're meant to be with you. You're meant to be doing stuff together. And so this makes it very, very difficult on the one that's left behind. They suffer. Their happiness is gone because there's nothing. They feel like there's nothing they can do. They have to be like this, yeah. And it's like a super appointment, yeah. Like you made an appointment, now you've got to wait 5 minutes before somebody turns up. So you're twiddling your thumbs. But it's much worse than that, because your happiness is taken away, right? So do what you like, but not at the expense of your partner. And it's interesting because it can lead to terrible things too. You can lose your lady over this. If you say to your lady, because it's a man's job to teach the lady, he's a lawmaker, lawgiver, he needs to teach the lady what the right thing is. And if you just say to your lady, do what you like, do what you like, do what makes your heart sing, yeah, your lady could meet another man and she could say, oh, well, my heart sang, I felt like having sex with this man, so I did. That's what you told me to do. No. Do what you like, as long as it doesn't hurt your partner. Yeah? As long as it doesn't hurt your partner. And so there's a moral righteousness to do what you like. Yet there's an important aspect to it. What it means, the better teaching is, don't do what you hate. Don't do what you hate. Okay, that's more closer to the teaching, and that's the teaching that Jesus gave. So this teaching, as far as I know, originates with Jesus of Nazareth, who said, don't do what you hate. That's in the Gospel of Thomas. The Gospel of Thomas is the original teachings, the book of the original teachings of Jesus. It was thought to be lost, but then it was discovered in the Nag Hammadi library, I think, in the 1940s. So this book reappeared at the right time when the world needed it. Okay, and there are many of Jesus' sayings in there that are quite controversial compared to what you might see in the Bible, yet very, very great teachings are in that book, the Gospel of Thomas. Okay. I take 5. Well, I'm sorry if the guitar's a bit loud. It's not loud to me where I'm sitting, but the guitar amplifier is closer to the camera, unfortunately. And I'm at the back, I'm listening to the back of it, so it didn't work very well, that. If you just turn the volume down a little bit, it's not that bad. I'm not going to do the video over anyway. Okay. So it's important to understand this, that there's an individual teaching and a couple teaching here, and the couple teaching only applies if the two of you are together. Okay, so what happens when you put together with your lady is that at that moment when you come together, you know, you open the door and she comes in or she gets off the plane, you two of them come together and start to walk the way together. What happens is nature coordinates you together now. Until that, before that time, you were on one way and she was on another way because she was in a foreign country and there's no way she can meet you. And so nature has to plan a life and the future and everything for her separate and for you separate, and somehow bring these two together at a certain point in time. It's difficult, yeah, it's difficult to be like this. So when you're brought together at this point in time, now you're walking together on the way, and at that point this law applies, that if one of them goes away, does something without telling the other or without involving the other, and the other just finds themselves on their own, then their life's going to come to a standstill. It's not going to be pleasant. They're going to be unhappy. They're not going to be able to feel like, they're not going to feel like doing anything. Whereas if you're by yourself, like I'm by myself now, and my lady's by herself, and we should both be happy because we've got our own work to do, and every moment of your life under the will of God is a lovely, happy thing, and you're always busy doing whatever God wants you to do next. Now, I can see that the floor needs vacuuming, many other things need doing. Yeah, I can't touch all that stuff, even though I'd like to. I cannot. I have to wait until my hands move. We don't know why. Perhaps this moment in time is an important time to do these videos. We don't know. That's why it's so important to follow the will of God and let God decide what it is that we do when. Because if we start getting all concerned about maybe we should do this, maybe I need to do that, what's going to happen is you're going to be doing something that you're not supposed to be doing, and then you're going to lose the way. You're not going to be meeting somebody. An important meeting might be necessary to be happening. Normally you might have wandered out the house to shops or something and met somebody, but now you're vacuuming the floor thinking, oh my God, I don't feel like doing this. Okay. It's important to understand that when you don't do what you like, when you do what you hate, you get up in the morning and say, oh no, I feel like sleeping in bed, but my God, I've got to go to work. That's this recipe for disaster, yeah. And so, I know that some of you just don't feel like you can help yourself, and then you just got to suffer that, yeah. There's nothing anybody else can do. If you're making that mistake, you just got to pay the price until you realise that the only way you're going to be happy is if you walk out of that relationship. Now we come. Groups. So the same thing applies to groups. And a good example of a group is like the Beatles or something like that. Now, when they met on the way, each of them, and they all started to move together on the way. And they all got couples, and those couples started to move together with the band on the way. See how complex and remarkable this thing is. Yet if one of them decides to run off and do something different, this can upset the whole apple cart. Yeah, they're not all there. Something's got to give. Yeah, and so you could lose the band in the same way as you can lose the relationship with your lady by doing the dirty, by doing too much of that stuff. You know, where you go off with other people. You can lose the band in the same way. So you can go play, you can decide, so you're playing bass guitar in a band. Now bass players are hard to get, yeah, or drummers. And like a drummer, you know, drummers are you know, I don't know what the word for drummers is. They should be true to their band, but drummers can easily play in more than one band, you know. And so promiscuous, that's the word, promiscuous. The drummers are promiscuous because there aren't that many of them around, and people steal other people's drummers. I had a band. The band was called Southside Rhythm and Blues. It was a little blues combo. There was me on bass, my mate Ian on drums, and another guy on guitar. It was a nice little group. And my wife's friend was looking for a drummer for her little group. So she heard about my drummer because she knew my wife and everything. And so she stole my drummer from me, asked him if he wanted to play drums for her, and so he did. And that was the end of Southside Rhythm and Blues. It just finished in that moment. And the other two guys were just left. I couldn't do anything, yeah. And I don't know how the drummer suffered, but I'm sure he had to suffer a worse time in the end. He used to say he liked it, but you know what I'm talking about. If you say you know, it means the other person knows. You don't need to carry on. Okay. Now, so you've got to be awake to people asking you to do stuff for them. Not only do what I say, but also do what I ask you to do. Will you come and be our drummer? Well, the answer is no. No, I'm already the drummer for Southside Rhythm and Blues. Sorry, if I'm not playing for a group, I'll let you know. That's the right thing to do, the same as it is if you're a couple, you know. So you know, you know about it. It's enough. And so it was interesting. Bob Dylan put a few people through this test, really. And one of the guys that actually came through the test was the greatest blues guitarist, greatest white blues guitar player in the 60s. Michael Bloomfield was his name. And he just loved the blues, he lived the blues, he lived together with all the black musicians in Chicago. And he was asked to join Paul Butterfield's blues band. Now, he knew that Paul Butterfield was a bad guy. But Paul Butterfield was quite strong. He was a difficult man, you know, he was a bully, yeah. And so he was the sort of guy that it was hard to turn down. And he already had a guitarist. So he was doing the dirty on his existing guitarist to get another guitarist. Now you've got one guy, you know, not playing as much guitar because he wanted this better guitarist. So, well, now I've got two guitarists, you know. So you can eat more than you really should be. You can consume more than what you should in this world. You have to be frugal. You don't really need two guitarists. And the other guy was playing lead guitar, and now he's not playing lead guitar, he's just playing rhythm guitar because Mike Bloomfield's there, and Mike Bloomfield just wants to play lead guitar all the time. But he doesn't need a rhythm guitarist. Mike Bloomfield can play rhythm guitar and lead at the same time, you know, he's so good. But the interesting thing about Mike Bloomfield was that after saying that he'd do it, because he was in the will of God, Mike Bloomfield, for a time. After he said he'd do it, Bob Dylan came along, and Bob Dylan asked him to play on his folk gig because he was playing the same folk festival as the Butterfield Blues Band. And so he asked the guys to sit in with him, and they had this big Bob Dylan turns rock and roll, you know. And it was Mike Bloomfield and the Butterfield Blues Band, backing band, that got behind him and did it. And together with Al Cooper. And then he wanted to record the record. He got hold of Mike Bloomfield. And Mike Bloomfield he shouldn't have done it really. He should have just stayed with Paul Butterfield. Just should have just said, no, I'm sorry, I'm playing with Paul Butterfield. But they think it's okay to do this, you know, because they're paid so badly, and so now they're going to play on another person's record. And now all the temptation comes in, and so, you know, Paul Butterfield and the blues band is somewhere, and there's no Mike. Where's Mike? You know, just about to have something important happen now. There's some gig that's come up. Now Mike's off somewhere else recording with Bob Dylan. You know, this is the sort of thing that happens to you. Now you're not feeling so good about it, all right? Because somebody in the band lets you down, in the group. Can be in a business, can be any kind of group, yeah? In a political party, in a cabinet, be anywhere. Wherever you've got a group functioning. So, anyway, Mike Bloomfield plays with Bob Dylan, and then Bob Dylan says he really likes it, and so he says, you know, will you play with me? Can you be with my band? I want you to join my band. So this was the next level of temptation. Now, if Mike Bloomfield hadn't joined Paul Butterfield's blues band, which he didn't really like the guy, he would have ended up with Bob Dylan, and that would have been another thing altogether. Like, that would have been tremendous thing that could have happened there, you know. And but he said no. He wants to stick with the blues, and he wants to stick with the Paul Butterfield Blues Band. And so he did the right thing, and he played some really outstanding music after that. Obviously God shined his light on him because he was true to the Paul Butterfield Blues Band. He didn't play with Bob anymore, and Bob got another guitarist, Robbie Robertson, and there the whole band did the dirty on the guy with the hat, screaming Jay Hawkins, screaming Jay Hawkins. I roll 44 miles of barbed wire. I use a cobra snake for a necktie. You know, this guy with the hat. Screaming Jay Hawkins. They did the dirty on him, you know, that band. And so, you know, it just goes from one to the other. Once it starts, it just becomes promiscuous, yeah. And so they go on the downward path. The next thing you know, they're all drinking alcohol, smoking marijuana, and doing even worse drugs, okay? Because this is what causes them to do it, is because they do the dirty on the group. To be a traitor, so this is what's called being a traitor. You're a traitor to the couple, you can be a traitor to the group, you can be a traitor to your nation. Okay? Maybe you can be a traitor to the empire, I don't know. I couldn't test that one out. So, don't be a traitor. Even though you might like to do something, consider whether it is the act of a traitor, treachery, to leave somebody in the lurch and go with another group, which many groups do. And you see, the best groups, they stick it out. The Beatles stuck it out for a few years, and then Yoko Ono comes along, yeah, and John Lennon's making music with Yoko Ono. Doesn't really work anymore, yeah. And John Lennon also did the dirty on his partner, and so he wasn't allowed to be in the Beatles at all anymore anyway. So it all had to end. And so if you can lose a group if you lose a couple, yeah. If you lose a couple, you can lose a group. I'll see if I can turn the amplifier around a bit. See if that helps. Oop. Not much space in here. This morning is Monday. Where are you now? Teasing my memory, making me out in the open when I don't want to. The Mullen Street days, born in daylight, gone like a suitcase full of your past, long gone in a hurry. Baby, about to go down, more than I already been. You're more like a wildfire, you're burning all over town. As much as you burn me, baby, I should be ashes by now. I should be ashes by now. Right, we're going to pick the next card now and see what the next video is going to be. And if you want to know what the card reading is for the next card, if you subscribe to the channel, you'll get it in your feed. Interesting. All the one hand. Uh-oh, here we go. Yeah. Okay, we talked a little bit about this. This is a detail of it. Live without money. Live without money. Okay. The card that we're going to be talking about next time. Live without money. So, you want to find out about that, you know what to do.